days are like grass. He flourishes like a flower of the field, for the wind passes over it, and it is gone.
The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love.
Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless His holy name. Bless His holy name. The Lord has established. My eyes to the hills, from where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. Help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in. Make me to know your ways, O Lord. Teach me your paths, lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long. To you, O Lord, I lift up my soul. Oh my God, I trust in you. Let me not be put to shame. Let not my enemies exult over me. Indeed, none who wait for you shall be put to shame. Good and upright is, good and upright is, good and upright is the Lord. Good and upright is, good and upright is, good and upright is the Lord. Make me to know your ways, O Lord. Teach me your paths, lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. Does not wisdom come? Does not understanding raise her voice on the heights beside the way? Blessed is the one who finds wisdom and the one who gets understanding. For the gain from her is better than the gain from silver, and her profit is better than gold. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. Does not wisdom come? Does not understanding raise her voice on the heights beside the way? The fear of the Lord, the fear of the Lord, the fear of the Lord, fear of the Lord is the beginning of understanding. The fear of the Lord, fear of the Lord is the beginning of understanding. The fear of the Lord is understanding, understanding. Does not wisdom come? Does not understanding raise her voice on the heights beside the way? Does not wisdom come? Does not understanding raise her voice on the heights beside the way? Does not wisdom come? Does not understanding raise her voice on the heights beside the way? Oh, sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. Let the sea roar and all that fills it, the world and those who dwell in it. Let the rivers clap their hands, let the hills sing for joy, together before the Lord, for he comes to judge the earth. Make a joyful noise to the Lord. All the earth break forth into joyous song and sing praises. Let the sea roar and all that fills it, the world and those who together before the Lord, for he comes to judge the earth. Judge the earth, let the sea roar, and all that fills it. My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. Help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. My help comes from the Lord, who made... Well, hey, good Monday morning to you guys all. Brad here with Everyday Outreach. I hope you're having a blessed day wherever, whenever you're watching this Bible study, get together, prayer gathering, community building, Jesus uplifting thingamajig. Ladies and gents, good morning. If you are seeing this recording instead of Brad actually like live, then you're going to know a few things. First of all, this was pre-recorded. And secondly, the reason why is this. You guys know that Krista was scheduled for surgery, and her knee surgery is probably happening right now. So I'm either in a waiting room and watching on a phone while I wait for Krista, because she's probably literally in surgery right now. So if you don't mind praying for her, I'd really, really appreciate that. Yeah, so I'm probably either in a waiting room or I'm in the car and I'm trying to log on to do this live, or if it's just not going to work and time with doctors and announcements and, hey, all this stuff's going on with the hospital, that's why I'm recording this now. So for me, this is Sunday. For you, this is Monday. But all the same is what we need to be doing is uplifting Christ. We need to be in prayer for the community. Again, thank you for prayers for Krista. And today we are going to be talking about 1 John. We're in John 1, 1 John. 1 John chapter 2. And there's some really, really amazingly important stuff that we need to dig into in 1 John. And the way we do this, if you're new here, is we read the scriptures together, then we unpack it, and then we chat as we go. So please don't forget to click that like button. If you're new, subscribe. That does help out. But make a comment. Make some kind of, say hi or where you're from. Hey, where are you from? Where are you from? Delaney B. Where are you from? BP Devo. Where are you from? We know he's from Texas. Put that down there. Morning, Tammy. Tammy's from Alabama. And while I can't see everybody's names this morning because I'm doing this pre-recorded, I'm just guessing that you guys are here. I'm hoping Danny Thrive is here. I'm hoping. Anyway, good morning. Since I can't do the normal read off the list and say who's on the chat, I'm just going to have to say good morning to you all. And look, it's later in the day, so I don't even have coffee. I just have water. Clink. You guys have coffee or tea, so hopefully. Dang good coffee, right? No, it's water. All right, so let's read. Boom, we're in the ESV version of the Bible. Open your Bibles. If you have your Bibles, turn with me to the first letter of John. And just the quickest recap, since it was Thursday, since we talked about this, because we did the hanging out time with Bulletproof Pastor on Friday. John was one of Jesus' actual inner circle disciples, right? But not just a disciple. He was an apostle too. And he wrote this as an older man, probably near his death, 85 to 90 AD-ish. And he was likely writing this in Ephesus when he was spending time in Ephesus. And he was one of the few that actually died naturally. So out of the inner circle, he died naturally. Even though they tried to boil him, didn't work, didn't take. Now, one thing that we talked extensively about on Thursday, which I'm not going to go back into beating this horse, is the Gnosticism. I'm going to just skim it. And that's just the secret knowledge. And the reason why I want to skim it is because it's so important to know that today, in this church, today, right here, right now, a lot of this stuff is happening. A lot of this stuff, the people that think, all of this alien business that the government's pushing forward, and all the lights in the sky and the little green men and all that stuff, and the presence of demons and the presence of these otherworldly people and beings and ships and craft and all this stuff that's being inundated, it's even seeping into the church. And this secret knowledge, a lot of people are saying, well, you know what? There's a lot of this stuff right here in the Bible. Just look at Ezekiel. Look at all these places, and they're trying to make them one where this is very similar to some of the stuff that John was having to deal with, not in terms of little green men and aliens, but that there was a distortion of the truth that was being blended together. Like now, all these crazy secret truths, air quotes, truths, are being blended in with the Bible, and it's just simply not true. So the parallels are there, and we're going to do our best to make sure that we get informed so we don't fall prey to the same thing that's happened again and again and again and again. So we're going to read 1 John chapter 2, the first little bit, and then we're going to unpack it. So here we go. 1 John chapter 2. Are you marked set? Here we go. My little children, I am writing these things to you so that you may not sin. But if anyone does sin, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ, the righteous. He is the propitiation for our sins, and not for ours only, but also for the sins of the whole world. And by this we know we have come to know him, if we keep his commandments. Whoever says, I know him, but does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoever keeps his word, in him truly the love of God is perfected. By this we may know that we are in him. Whoever says he abides in him ought to walk in the same way in which he walked. Verse 7. Beloved, I am writing to you no new commandment, but an old commandment that you had from the beginning. The old commandment is the word that you have heard. Not world, I'm sorry, word. Let me repeat that because I put an extra L in there that doesn't belong. Beloved, I'm writing to you no new commandment, but an old commandment that you had from the beginning. The old commandment is the word that you have heard. At the same time, it is a commandment that I'm writing to you, which is true in him and in you. Because the darkness is passing away and the true light is already shining. Whoever says he is in the light and hates his brother is still in darkness. Whoever loves his brother abides in the light, and in him there is no cause for stumbling. But whoever hates his brother is in darkness and walks in the darkness and does not know where he is going, because the darkness has blinded his eyes. Okay. Swig of water, not coffee, and let's get business. Get to business. Okay. So, let's unpack this little by little. There's a big phrase right in the beginning. My little children, I'm writing these things to you so that you may not sin, period. That's where most people kind of just skip over. They skip to, but if anyone does sin, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ, the righteous. He is our propitiation. He is the propitiation for our sins. And not ours only, but for the sins of the whole world. Okay, so a lot of people, they just skip right over that part. I'm writing these things to you so that you may not sin. Because we don't want to think that there's a standard that I'm really only kind of trying to do. And you may say, Brad, well, you know, if you're trying real hard, if you're pushing to do all those things and that stuff, aren't you just checking off boxes like you're some kind of legalistic, you know, person who never really accepted grace? Well, here's the thing. If it's right here in front of you and we think, oh my gosh, there's some kind of conflict between grace and him saying you shouldn't sin, I'm guessing that the interpretation is what's wrong. Because it clearly says here, I'm writing these things to you so that you may not sin. But if you do, so there's obviously a standard. And that means exactly the opposite of what a lot of people want to try to make you believe. They want to make you believe that, well, you just live your life and then grace will take care of it. No, you're supposed to actually try to do your best to adhere to the standards that have already been set in front of you. Most people skip past that part because they don't want to think that there is a standard that they should have to try to adhere to. Honestly, that's what it is. People don't want to do it, so they just skip over it and go, well, you know, grace, grace, grace. Oh, people. If you are openly trying to just live your life and say, well, grace, 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 I don't really have to try. God made me. Ooh, here's an evil one. You ready for this? God made me the way I am. So, well, I just want to have 4 boxes of Twinkies every day. And that's not bad. He made me this way, so therefore it's fine, right? And if it really is, you know, bad for my body and I'm really abusing myself, don't leave. Stay here. I see the numbers. Oh, yeah. Stay put. I'm going to pick on me next, okay? If that's, you know, the mentality that you might have, like, well, I can just eat this way and he made me this way, therefore it's fine. And if it really is sin, well, Jesus paid for those sins too. And so I can just do what I want and that's fine. I'm here to tell you, ladies and gents, that's trampling on grace. That's looking at what Jesus did on the cross and saying, that wasn't really that great of a thing. It's not worth my time to try to actually do what Jesus said. I'll just take the grace and, it's kind of not very grateful. It's kind of not anything like what we're supposed to be doing. I mean, are you with me? So, eating 10 boxes of Twinkies a day and thinking to yourself, well, why can't I lose weight? Well, you know why. And to think, well, I'll just abuse my body with this, or that. It doesn't have to be Twinkies. Well, guess what? God said that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. It's where the Holy Spirit dwells. Well, you wouldn't go into a church. You wouldn't go into a beautiful cathedral dragging, cans of dirty diapers and rubbish and all manner of discarded food and just start piling it on the altar and everywhere. You wouldn't do that. Well, why? Because there's supposed to be a level of reverence in there, isn't there? Well, guess what? So's your body. And trust me, I got no stones to throw people. I'm just reading what's in the Bible and then telling you about it. I'm saying that for me, it's a hard thing too. Eating right is hard. But also keeping your brain straight is not easy too. What are you watching? Oh, man. Brad, don't get on my TV shows. Don't you dare get on my stories. Well, is it something you would sit next to Jesus and watch and talk about? Be like, hey, Jesus, check this out. This is where this guy gets his blah, blah, blah ripped off. And then the dragon comes and, oh, man, and then there's this. And, oh, then there's this scene where the girl and the guy. Would you really sit and chat with Jesus about stuff like that and watch it and be like, nice? If the answer is no, you wouldn't, then don't do it on your own or with your family or with your friends. Because why? It's the wrong thing to do, whether Jesus is sitting there or not, because we have the standard right here. We know what the standard is. We're going to get to that in a second. So if it's not Twinkies, what else would this be? This idea that you just trample on grace. Folks, take your pick. Everybody has a thing that is their kryptonite, if you will, your weakness. Some people it's food. Some people it's thought. Some people it's greed. Whatever it is, you gotta submit to God and say, God, I need your help. In that moment when the temptation's happening, that's when you need to submit and say, Jesus, help me out here. I can't do this alone. I need your help. And that's legit. You guys know what I'm talking about? Comments down below. All right, now for a big fancy dancy 50 cent theological term, propitiation. We read it. It says here, verse 2, he, meaning Jesus, is the propitiation for our sins, and not for ours only, but for also the sins of the whole world. Okay, propitiation. Anybody? Bueller, BP Devo, propitiation. Okay, the definition for propitiation, I'm going to read it. Sacrifice that bears God's wrath and turns it into favor. So it's a complete flip. Not just you have forgiveness and now you're okay. Like, not from wrath to just plain forgiveness. No. From wrath, passing, you get forgiveness too, but passing that and going straight to favor. That's unbelievable.
And we have that through Jesus Christ. We have that through the creator of all things, our Savior. That's unbelievable. So what next? Let's check this out. This is one of the big verses, though, folks, that people don't understand. Because, folks think, well, Jesus just came to save the church. Some people think that. Well, that's just not true. It's for everybody. The real problem is when you don't accept the forgiveness for the sins that you've done and I've done that he's already paid for. When you've said, no thanks, I'll do it on my own. Well, guess what? We're never going to make it. Because you can't pay for those. He is the propitiation for our sins, and not ours only, but also for the sins of the whole world. Okay. Now, this is interesting here, verse 3. And by this we know that we have come to know him, if we keep his commandments. Whoever says, I know him, but does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoever keeps his word, in him truly the love of God is perfected. All right, well, what do you think he means by these commandments? Do you think it was just like one or two things that Jesus said in the New Testament? Hey, follow those things. Those things are good. Well, let me ask you a question. Is God the same yesterday, today, and forever? Does he just change his mind willy-nilly and like, you know what? The sun's going to be a gigantic orange today and not the actual sun. No. You know what? Today I've decided it's sin for free day. Go ahead. Nuts. Go nuts. Or if that's not ridiculous enough, if that's not crazy enough, it's switcheroo day. Be whatever you want to be and you get a pass. We'll slap it on or cut it off or whatever. You know what I'm saying? No. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so if he consistently said, these are the things that I am telling you to do and not do throughout the whole Old Testament and into the New Testament, and we can clearly see that Jesus obeyed these commandments. He himself. Yes, there were times when he corrected Pharisees and scribes and the muckety-mucks who were trying to make him adhere to changes, alterations that they did. But it was not that Jesus was disobeying the law or the commandments. He was just obeying it in perfection. They had changed it, and they were expecting him to adhere to the changes. As Brad pensively strokes his beard. So let me see if I can understand this. This should give you guys a good laugh. So God, Jesus, is the Word made flesh. Humans are going to tell him how he's doing it wrong. Hey, you're doing it wrong. Is that not, that's just straight up ridiculous. But that's what happened. So, what are the commandments? Let me ask you this then. Because this is a tough one, guys. This is one of those ones where you gotta scratch your head and say, okay, well, how do I know what right and wrong are? I mean, in the New Testament world, so if God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and he doesn't change, so is murder still bad? Is it still, or can you just go murder a bunch of people and you get grace? It's fine. Just grace it up. I'm just killing people, murdering things, and whatever. I'll just give me some grace. No, don't do that. What about, adultery? Can you just sleep around, no big whoop? Grace, grace, grace. I'll grace it up when I'm done. No. Those are no's. But then everybody would agree that, okay, stealing, bad, don't do that. Adultery, bad, don't do that. Murder, really bad, don't do that. Isn't it funny, though, that when you get to the commandments that you don't like, now all of a sudden there's a problem? Like, we all agree murder's bad. We all agree stealing's bad. But then it's like, keep the Sabbath. Well, we don't have to do that now today, do we? Brad scratches his head and wonders aloud. Why? Did God change his mind? I think not. So, keep that in mind when you reread this with me, all right? Whoever says I know him but does not keep his commandments is a liar. And the truth is not in him. But whoever keeps his word, in him truly is the love of God and is perfected. I kind of spun things around there. So, let's see. And by this we know that we have come to know him if we keep his commandments. Okay, take a deep breath. We'll all get through this together. Which one of the 10 commandments, because it seems funny to me that New Testament believers, we all agree the 10 commandments are great, and we should, except for the ones that bother us. So which ones should we strike out? Which ones should we just go, let's see. Okay. Honor the Lord your God, check. That's a good one. Murder, check. Yeah, don't murder. Yeah. How about this one? Yeah, keep the Sabbath. And we go through and we edit what God has said because it's inconvenient for us. I didn't write in my Bible, by the way. No way. Not like that. I mean, I highlight stuff, but have you ever thought about that? And here's the big question for today, guys. Who's in charge? Are we, the created, in charge of the creator? Or should we submit to the creator as being the created? Do we want to edit what he said because we don't like it, or we don't want to do it, or it seems inconvenient, or I have a problem with that one? Or do we want to live a more godly life by being obedient? There's the question for you today, folks. There's the question for me too, isn't it? There's the thought. There's the thought. So, 1 John chapter 2. We're going to be digging in here, folks. There's a lot more meat on the bones. We've just basically begun. I know this is going to be a blessing for you. I know it. It's already been a blessing for me. And shoot, I haven't even gotten past the second paragraph in chapter 2. We're going to, if you will allow the Holy Spirit, he's going to do amazing things in your life. And then in turn, the lives of people around you. We are going on a journey. Matthew 28. You're going to see. Things are going to be pretty cool coming up. I've been praying for a long time about this. And I know God is going to do amazing things in your life. I know it. So, moving forward, I'm going to hit the music and let it play for a while. You guys chat it up. Pray for each other for sure. Don't forget Krista, please. We're going to pray here in a second. But before we do, round of applause for Pastor Woods for giving it the old college try, and we technically tried to get it ready to go on Friday for a live thing, and it didn't work, but we're going to give it another shot. And thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for being here. So with that said, let's pray. Father God, thank you so very much for how you love us. Help us to see that we should be obedient to you, even if it's not something that we feel like we want to do. We love you, Jesus. Thank you so much. All right, guys, don't leave. Chat it up. Have a great morning. See ya. Bye.
Oh Lord, in your strength the King rejoices, and in your salvation how greatly he exalts. You have given him his heart's desire, and have not withheld the request of his lips. For you meet him with rich blessings. You set a crown of fine gold upon his head. He asked life of you, you gave it to him. Length of days forever and ever. His glory is great through your salvation. Splendor and majesty you bestow on him. For you make him most blessed forever. You make him glad with the joy of your presence. Bow, 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 bow. For the King trusts in the Lord, and through the steadfast love of the Most High, he shall not be moved. He shall not be moved. Be exalted, O Lord, in your strength we will sing and praise your power.